Good evening. Welcome to War Thunder's website. I am Old Dead Man. After a couple of days of the Future Technology Crafting event, I've got just a little bit more information than I had when I originally was trying to record this. So let's see if we can kind of give you a quick summary, show you just a couple of things, how to do it in case you've never done it before, and then I'll tell you what I think of the event overall and my role in it. All right. First off, you have the opportunity to assemble components for the Minotaur tank, but you don't get to keep the Minotaur tank. The prizes for the event are from this 4 set here. We have 2 low tier prizes, the SU-76D and the JDS Ugure DD-184, and the high tier prizes are the XM8 and the F4F Early. During this event, if you're doing this entirely for free and you're grinding your heart out, you potentially can get 1 low tier prize and 1 high tier prize. I suppose theoretically you could get 2 low tier prizes, but you would not be able to get any high tier prizes at all. If you did this entirely, grinding your heart out, doing all the things, and went full bore, you could get 2 prizes, 1 high, 1 low. If you wanted all 4 prizes, you would need to play the Gaijin market. So let's take a look at some of the things you can get. As you play the game, and you can do this in random battles in arcade, realistic, and the 2 April Fool's events, and ground sim mode. Random battles though, not any of the like enduring confrontation or anything like that. So if you're doing it in those events, you'll get a box. One of these boxes here on the left. That box will contain materials. And those materials, you open it up, you get those materials out of that, and you can use those materials to start assembling components. At the same time, by the way, you can get one of those boxes for every 10 minutes in a random battle where you have a 50% or greater game activity. The rounds, on the other hand, you can get one of those every 30 minutes. Again, same requirement. That's 50% in-game, in-battle activity rate every 30 minutes. The amounts do stack, so if you spend 5 minutes in a battle, it's okay. It stacks towards continuing on. So you spend 5 minutes in a battle, you spend 15 minutes in a battle, you'll get 2 of the material boxes. If you spend 15 minutes and 25 minutes in there, you'll get 4 material boxes and 1 of the rounds. But again, that's in battle, not time in queue. Not time looking at anything else, not time assembling your item. So you open the boxes, you get your parts, you assemble components until you can get down to the end. And while you're doing that, you're getting these rounds so you can assemble an ammo carousel for the autoloader. The parts of the Minotaur tank scheme on the right, I've been getting them. They say it will help you speed your assembly along. I've not found much use for them yet, but we'll see what they do for me. Okay, so you go in there, you get your components together, you open it up, you get a bunch of stuff. Let's take a look at what that looks like. All right, so you've finished a few matches, you've gotten some boxes. You head out up to the shop and then go to the workshop. That's not exactly the most intuitive place to put it, since it's not really shopping per se. And you end up with all these boxes of materials. I've been going for a while and I haven't opened any boxes. By the way I find it works best for me is to play for a long time, then come and do a bunch of the boxes when you're about ready to call it good. Otherwise, you get pretty frustrated pretty fast. So you do a bunch of boxes, and maybe you could be assembling things with the previous day's materials as you go, and see what you come out with and what you need. So from this screen here, you hit the assemble button. And from here, you can see what parts you have available and what you have to assemble. Now, I did quickly run down one of the trees as fast as I could, and this is the number of components you need to put together. 8 components, and I'm assuming that's 8 components in all 3 of these columns. And each one, you have to assemble the part of scheme first. Then, once you've assembled that part of scheme, you can use the other materials to create the part itself. So let's back off and let's open some crates, see what I got. part of scheme, 3 parts of scheme. You can get between 1 and 4 parts in each crate. And as you can see, I'm getting an awful lot of 1s and 3s. There was 1 4 in there. There's a 2. 4, but they're 4 different parts. And now that I've consumed all my stuff, I can go see where I stand on assembling some more items. Now, as you can see here, I've got 22 of these rounds, and I've got 15 of these parts of schemes. So let's go into the assembly again. And here's those part of Minotaur tank schemes, which I assume I can use at some point in time, but I haven't seen it yet. Now, up top here, you have the individual components. This should be pretty familiar for anybody who's played one of these crafting events in the past. What's different this time, though, is that if you want to sell your materials, you have these assemble buttons, and it takes 2 materials and creates 1 sellable material out of it. So if you're planning to assemble your own, you will want to keep all this stuff up here, not assemble these down here. That caught me off guard. I didn't expect that. And so when I started going to town on assembling these right off the bat on the first day, well, it was a waste, because that just meant I'd lost half of the things I'd worked towards. So let's take a look here. We have a recipe right here. This is one of the initial recipes. You get your recipe, and you've got 3 options. You have a fuel cell scheme substandard, and this one requires more resources to build. You have the balanced scheme, and this scheme requires a standard amount of resources and takes a standard amount of time. Whereas the advanced or detailed scheme, you can use less parts or take less time. So if you're in a hurry to assemble, you could make the detailed one and then assemble all the components a lot faster. But I've been using it because it uses less components, so I can see what it looks like. So let's go ahead and hit that, and we're going to assemble the scheme. Now that's going to take 10 minutes for that to happen. Over here is one of the ones where I've already researched the scheme. Now, once you've researched it, you'd hit the finish button on that scheme, and then you'd go ahead and jump into you would get the next prompt of that question mark that shows you what you're actually going to be assembling. So let's look at the recipes here. This is one of the ones I made with the detailed scheme. On the left, we have the method of making this that has got less resources in use. Only one of the 1 schematic, the 4 of the steel sheets, and the 3 of the composite materials. It takes 10 minutes to put together. On the right, this one takes more steel sheets and more composite materials, but it assembles in 30 seconds. Now I'm keeping my resource usage down, so I'm going to go ahead and do the standard assembly. So we're going to assemble that part. And when that gets done, it will look like this. You hit finish, and it'll show finish at the bottom of it. And so you hit finish, and you get your optical devices. Now down here, if we follow what's going on here, I've still need 4 more of these rounds in order to assemble my ammo rack. Once I have my ammo rack and all these components researched up here, I'll be able to assemble my tank. And that will create a receiving order. Now, the receiving order can be traded in for the Su-76D, which can then be traded in for the Yugure. However, if you hold on to your receiving order and continue and do the whole process again from top to bottom, you can manufacture a second receiving order. And then again, you do a third one and get your third receiving order, and those will be able to create one of the high tier components. So you can start by creating the XM8. If that's not your jam, you can then assemble the F4F early from the XM8 coupon. And that's how you do it. So follow the bouncing ball. There's a whole lot of pieces and components. Mainly the frustrating thing for me was that it initially showed just the 3 components at the top with question marks underneath, and you don't know how far you have to go to get there. So it's 8 units down to get through the entire assembly schematic before you'll be able to, on 3 columns, then you'll be able to actually continue on to the next step. And that's how you do the crafting event. Now, my personal opinions. These crafting events are an interesting idea. But the implementation means that you have to literally spend your entire time for the 12 days of the event grinding just to be able to get everything you need to get the full amount of prizes available. Now, you can only make 2 of them. You can only get 1 low tier and 1 high tier with entirely free by grinding your heart out. If you want all 4, you're going to have to play the market and start buying components. You will literally not be able to, because you will run out of one of the components before you'll be able to get there. The idea of being able to play for a while and just have these components show up, that's good. I think that's a positive aspect of the crafting events. But overall, you have to have no life outside of War Thunder for 12 days straight. And unless you're going to pay money. If you're going to pay money, I would actually rather they set up a price and sold them as premiums than do the crafting events, personally. Out of all these vehicles, I can tell you the SU-76 has 0 interest for me. The Yugure, if I can't get to the XM8, I'll pick that up. But I'll definitely be able to get one low tier event vehicle out of this. The XM8 is interesting to me. I would be interested in getting it, but I've already got my fill of Phantoms in all the other trees, so I don't need another Phantom. And I think that was a mistake. They are putting a Tech Tree 1, so you aren't losing out. But to be honest, it's not a particularly unique or interesting vehicle this time. The XM8 is interesting. It is unique. But I don't see the F4F Phantom in the German tree as being particularly exciting when you've already got Phantoms across multiple trees that you can pursue. Something unusual or unique would have been a lot more fun, but I just don't see it. My personal feel is that I'm going to just, I'm going to play the game normally. What comes out is what comes out. If I manage to get one of the top tier prizes, I'll pick up the XM8. It'll be, nice to have. But my US tree is fully loaded. I've got every tank in the tree, in the standard tech tree. I don't need additional vehicles. It would just be nice to have it. And that's my overall take on the event. I just wish they would make it so that people could have a life outside of the game and still get at least the 2 prizes. You can get the low tier prize with just a little extra work. One of them. But is that really worth it? That depends on you. That's everything I got to say. You have a great rest of the day, and we will see you on War Thunder. Stay away from toxicity. Keep a happy attitude, and you'll do a lot better than if you get all frustrated. Remember, it's the time and the percentage and the activity percentage, not the number of kills, nothing else. So, have fun, enjoy, see you in War Thunder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 components!